All right, welcome everybody. It's Friday. It is August 15th, 2025, and this is another edition of the Florida EMS Webinar, which is part of the Florida chapter of the NEMSP. And every week we bring you just incredible people to present, to give you really the latest cutting edge information, whether it's research, ideas, innovation. And today we have some of our favorite people who are on. And I posted on LinkedIn yesterday. I said, do you remember the 2003 article in USA Today by Bob Davis? And so many people responded to it, and someone just wrote, that should be required reading for everybody. And I could not agree more. This right here is gold. Okay. So if you're new to EMS, if you're not new to EMS, if you want to learn about EMS, this is a great history lesson, and it'll give you an opportunity to see how far we've come. I wish I would have read this when I first got into EMS, and it's really an important document. So why are we here? How are we bringing this back full circle? Is because the same people, and I'll have them introduce themselves in a minute, but Bob Davis, who wrote that article in 2003, is with us. Hillary Gates is with us. And we also have Emily Butters and Ria. How do I say Ria's last name?
Sinha.
Ria Sinha is with us as well. And we have a special guest, someone related to me, Jordan Antevy, will be speaking. So let me pass it over to you, Hillary Gates. Hillary, who we know and love, who is just like very kind of ubiquitous in EMS, let's just say that. So Hillary, I'm going to pass it over to you, and you can introduce your team and then take it away. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks, Tanner. Thanks, everyone, for being here. It's truly an honor. Thank you for the kind words, and it's so wonderful to open a Friday with our people and the people who care and want to make a difference in this world. One of those people is my co-founder, Bob Davis, and he's going to start with our slides today and talk a little bit about how we started up and then what we're up to now. Go ahead, Bob.
Thanks, Hillary. Yeah, we're not going to take much time with our slides because we want to get to conversation, but we want to just tell you who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, how you can help, and how you can join the movement. We formed with the infamous Tom Boothele. He was inspired by the series that I wrote, and he and I became friends. Hillary and I became friends. We all came together in a synchronistic way. If you haven't seen our origin story, check it out because our story is probably your story. It's a story that happened in DC, but every system has some culture issues that they can address if they have the courage to look. So take a look, and next slide. Over the summer, we got some great new talent. Ria, who is not able to join us this morning, I'm sorry, Peter, is actually in class as a high school senior. Amazing energy, amazing journalist who has gotten bit by the bug here and is doing incredible work in her school that we hope will inspire others nationwide. Emily Butters, just like the family thing that we've got going, Peter, here. She's my stepdaughter, but more importantly, she's EMT, working EMT and a med student at Tulane, MPH, MD student, bringing great energy to the fore. Next slide. We envision a world where no one dies of witness VFib. It just shouldn't happen today. We've got everything we need. And we approach this through storytelling. Next slide. As journalists and as former medics and all the things, we see that of the 1,000 cardiac arrests that occur each day, is this subset of those who we shouldn't lose. I call them needless deaths. This is the witnessed patient who appears in shockable rhythm. They're otherwise healthy. They're working out. They're doing their thing. They're not end stage. This is not the nursing home patient who has cardiac arrest. So by looking at Utstein, as we showed 20 years ago, and now it's common, as you all know, preaching to the choir here, you can see how you're doing, and you can see how you're doing with Utstein, and that tells you where you are on this map, right? Where are you in saving the most savable. Next slide. Hillary.
So one of the things 6 Minutes to Live is really proud of is engaging our communities. And when we talk about creating communities of compassion or creating compassionate communities, whatever alliteration you want to use there, we have to look inward, and what is going on in our own community is something we should know. And when we show our video to people, and when people see what the reality is about cardiac arrest, especially people who are bystanders in training or people who don't know the system of EMS, they are shocked by what they don't know. And most people assume that when you call 911, you're going to get everything that you need at all times, including telephone CPR and including someone there quickly with a defibrillator. And we know in EMS that that's not the reality for various reasons. So one of the things that we are encouraging in our movement is to engage the local community. So I thought I needed to walk the walk, and I just made a big life move across the country from the DC area. I moved to Santa Cruz, California, which come visit. It's amazing. I'll take you out surfing. And as a new citizen of Santa Cruz, I wanted to talk with the EMS, fire, police, healthcare folks in my community and see what we were doing. And the reality of my community is probably very similar to yours. And that is that the CARES report shows some drops in bystander CPR, of course, since the pandemic, and that we need to do better. So I've met with all of these movers and shakers and come up with a way to do bystander training at things like farmers markets and really AED awareness, some AED donations, really getting Pulse Point out to the community and making sure that they know that it's there and encouraging this compassionate care in the community. We are making our big focus and push in my community on the back to school efforts. And that's why we have these, it's wonderful that we have these young, passionate folks on our team, as well as out there in places like University of Florida with Peter's son, Jordan, to say and demand that we need that we need all young people and the next generation to understand that the power to save a life is in their hands, and that they can put their hands on someone's chest, give them CPR, understand where the AEDs are, and deploy them as necessary. So we'll be doing all kinds of training in my community, and I hope that I inspire you to do the same in yours. So on that note, Emily, tell us what's happening in New Orleans.
Yeah. So my name's Emily Butters. I'm a medical student here at Tulane University in New Orleans. And one of the things that I noticed was that there's this gap in CPR education. You know, there's bystanders who maybe don't have any really like experience, or there's these 2-hour like CPR classes that are paid and that, you know, really only are geared towards like professionals like lifeguards or anyone in the healthcare field. And I realized that when you're asking someone maybe on the phone to do telephone CPR, they have maybe never had any sort of experience unless they have already had some sort of training. And so I was kind of inspired to start a program through my medical school where we go to like the farmers markets or other community places and just bring a CPR dummy and talk about the importance of CPR and, you know, allow people of all ages to just practice for 5 minutes so that meeting communities where they are instead of asking people to sign up for classes or things like that that maybe feel like too much of a barrier. And also just being able to talk to community members about what myths or misunderstandings that they might have, you know, like what are the laws in their state about, you know, protecting Good Samaritan laws and things like that, talking about how we don't really necessarily need to do mouth to mouth, that you can just focus on compressions. So really trying to understand like what in your community, what your community members feel like are barriers to doing compressions and using an AED and things like that.
Thanks, Emily. One of the things you mentioned, I just wanted to highlight is this really important kind of reframing of learning CPR. All of us in the healthcare industry get a certification. We have a card. We take a long class that costs money. We all know as healthcare providers that learning how to do CPR is as a layperson, you can learn in 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, and that's what we should be focusing on to train the community, and less so having them register for classes, sit down, have to take time off of work, recertify, those types of things. That teaching them, like these kids that Emily taught, how to put hands on chest when someone collapses, and really adhering to the mantra of no, no, go, right? Are they conscious? No. Are they breathing normally? No. Go, do CPR. So that's an important part. Thanks, Emily. And Bob's going to speak for Rhea, who can't be here today because, of course, she's taking her calculus class in high school or something like that right now. And then Jordan will pipe in as well. Go ahead, Bob.
I won't even try to speak for her. She's much smarter and wiser than I am. But she is editor of her high school paper and very busy in her senior year. And we're so damn happy to have her on the team. Stay tuned. And this is one of our video crew guys doing a video on her. So stay tuned to our stuff and you'll see what she's doing in a short video. Again, we're trying to share with people through storytelling how easy it is to see something, say something, and do something about this. So I'll turn it over to Jordan here too.
Let me tee it up. Jordan, I'm going to tee you up real quick. So, Jordan is at UF, and everything he's about to tell you, he came up on with his own, and just it was very shocking to a school that I went to, that I graduated from, to see the state of affairs currently there today. It was pretty shocking. So, Jordan, go ahead and unmic and let us know what you're up to.
Thank you. First, I just want to say thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak in this amazing community. So, hey everyone, my name is Jordan, and alongside 2 other students at the University of Florida, that being Logan Hipschman and Preston Skinner, we started an initiative to bring a buy of AEDs, stop the bleed kits, and Narcan to every single Greek life, to fraternities, to sororities all across UF. And the shocking fact was that most of these fraternity and sorority houses are unequipped to deal with these dire circumstances. And we also learned that the UF Environmental Health and Safety website on AEDs is vastly outdated. The links don't work. The AED mapping is not accurate. And really the goal of this initiative is to give the power of saving a life back to the students, and doing something very similar to 6 Minutes to Live. And we're still in the process of conducting outreach and finding ways to finance the project, but we aim to teach CPR, give the tools, and hopefully make a difference in the community. So I want to thank Hillary, Bob, Emily, Rhea. Like you guys are a big inspiration to me, and like in conducting this project, and seeing you guys make such a big impact will hopefully translate to that impact being seen in the UF. So thank you guys, and thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Jordan. And Hillary and Bob, before we get back to you, just real quick, what was so impactful is that, Jordan was a freshman last year, and in the first week or two of his school, there was a kid who got who had a bad trauma right outside the, frat row, and there was nobody really there who knew what to do and how to help. So it happens. You just don't hear about it because it ends up on page 7 of some newspaper. So back to you.
No, you're right, Peter. I'm so glad you talked about the origin story, right? We all have one. And this is one of the reasons that you get so inspired and you become a champion. And Rhea has a similar story where she met, the family of a person of a kid who had collapsed during a sports game, and they couldn't get to the defibrillator because the school was locked, right? So does the lay public know that? Probably not. They just, again, assume, not because they're doing anything wrong, but they just assume that there's going to be those resources there. And Rhea was really struck by that and said, what is our high school doing? Where are the AEDs? Do we know what to do when there's an emergency? And what would we do in the afternoon or evening when there's no access to the building? So that's a really important hook in our journalism world. That's what we say is the hook for our story, right? That is why we've become advocates and why so many people on this call are the same, right? So many people have this type of story. Thanks, Jordan. So with 6 Minutes to Live, we have done all kinds of things and that been around for about a year now as a nonprofit. And as Bob mentioned, we're working on storytelling first and foremost to get the word out and get people to understand what's going on. the DC Fire and EMS story that we told in the video that's on our website, and our trailer or teaser video that's viewable on our website, 6minutestolive.com. Tells the story back in the day of a very tragic call in Washington, D.C. And the good news is D.C. has really turned the corner and made tremendous progress. And we're going to tell that story in a documentary fashion as well. So Bob and I have joined the advisory council for the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation. If you haven't seen their work, it is phenomenal. They have an entire survivor community that we have a good story for here on the last slide in a minute. So they do lots of work around advocacy, including some work in October for kind of cardiac arrest awareness. So check out their website. Bob and I and Emily and hopefully Rhea, but she has to go to school, are going to be speaking at the Citizen CPR's Foundation's Cardiac Arrest Survival Summit in Phoenix in December. So hope you can join there. And then we are doing things like you're about to see for people who have survived a cardiac arrest, and for families of people who haven't, by doing things like finding rescuers. So I'm going to have Bob end with a story about Gary.
Thanks. Yeah, this is just, there are a million stories to tell in this space, and we love telling these stories because it touches people's heart. They get engaged, and they find a way that they can act. This one's not uncommon for those of us in EMS. Gary's rushing to catch his flight at DFW. He feels a little odd. He takes a knee and he goes down in cardiac arrest. Two people step up and do everything right. As he says, they really beat his chest up and bruised him up, and he's so grateful for that. But when ALS got there, of course, they went on and caught their flight or did whatever they need to do. So he really wants to find him to say thanks. So we want to help him get the word out, see if we can reconnect him with these folks who really stepped up and we're, I'm sure, thrilled to do it, but didn't have time to hang around, as we see in our work all the time. People do their job and they never know what the outcome is. They never know what happens. So watch for this. We're doing a video. Rhea did an interview with him. We're doing a video to try and get on social and try and find Gary's rescuers, because it's not just about Gary, it's about everybody. This is kind of the every person story of these lives. We think that 66 lives a day are needlessly being lost, right? This is our back of the envelope estimation. So we want everyone to join us. Doesn't have to be with us. It can be all of you. I see, real pillars on this call. Looking forward to the conversation. Really preaching to the choir here, but I think what we're really concerned about is enabling people to be compassionate in their community at a time when we are divided and we have all kinds of struggles. Someone who drops in sudden cardiac arrest is a soul in free fall. This is our opportunity as a community to step in and change their world and change their family's world and change our world. So with that, Peter, should we have a conversation?
Yes. And I'm going to get it started because I know there's a lot of people who want to speak, but I want to highlight one specific person who's been a very big mentor to me, who was actually named in your 2003 document. And it's really someone who's revolutionized EMS. It's somebody who has taken two entities, fire and EMS, and kind of showed them how to work together. He's taught me so much about how to do that and how to lead, and that's Dr. Paul Pepe. So Paul, you must be looking at this history and saying, and by the way, Leonard Cobb was mentioned, Michael Kopis was mentioned in Bob's piece. And so Paul, we'd really love you to comment on this topic and love to hear your thoughts.
Okay. So Bob, first of all, hello. I don't think I've seen you since we were running through the wilds of Katrina, post Katrina, that kind of thing. So I hope you're doing well. I don't know if they properly introduced you. Bob actually was a Denver paramedic, before he got into all this. Ended up being a medical writer for USA Today, where this all came out to be. And it was fantastic, because he really had a passion for it and he did it. And then he found out that there was this place there was a group of people that were all talking to each other, right? and from the largest cities. So it was a great setup. He was just perfect. It did a fantastic job. And so we really want to thank you for that you're still doing this. This is fantastic, which is good. So I think I just wanted to make a little quick comment, is that one of the things that Ken Shepke and others did down in Florida was they actually got, about 8-9 years ago, AEDs, for example, in Publix supermarkets, right? So that was great. It turned out they're using them like 1 or 2 times a month somewhere in the state of Florida. It's phenomenal. And there's been a lot of lives saved. But one of the little sidebars of that was that a lot of the cases the majority of cases didn't require defibrillation, but they still had people doing CPR because they were trained in it. And so just don't forget, it's not all about AEDs as well. So I think just the bystander CPR thing in general is just a good thing to do. So that's just the quick comment. And Hillary, great to see you. Thanks for moving out to Santa Cruz. Where are you living there? I know where you living there.
Near the harbor, down by the water.
Oh, great area.
Yeah.
Fantastic area. I'll come visit you and see
Great.
if we can sort out some vampires there. So, which is great.
There you go.
And Bob, where are you living now?
I'm in DC and Northern Virginia, outside DC.
Yes.
But
Right.
Paul, I want to share with this group the short backstory about how my series came together, because I think it speaks to the power of the power of connection, the power of knowing someone like Paul Pepe. When I realized that I wanted to look at disparities, I set out to figure out, well, how can I document this? And you asked Paul Pepe a question, and my pen never stopped writing, because he started ticking off the survival rates he knew of in the cities where it was known, the sources, the cell phone number of the medical directors. And I just sat there and took this download from him for what felt like about 30 minutes. Paul giving me not opinion, facts, as had been published, as was known, where it was known, where it wasn't known, who was close to knowing. And in that session, this is a reporter's dream. In that session where you connect with an expert who has the knowledge and the patience and the willingness to share like that, something important starts, right? It took me a while to go get funding from the Kaiser Family Foundation to get to Breakaway, to do the full investigation, to do the survey of medical directors. But in that conversation with Paul Pepe, I still have the envelope, Paul, where I started taking notes
Get out of town.
on a paper, because I thought it was going to be a flyby question. Yeah. I think I was interviewing you for a story on something in the news, right? It was one of those second notebook stories. So anyway, I just share that for everyone, because I think when we're doing public advocacy, and when we have a feeling inside that we can do better and we want to do better, I really do think it's picking up the phone and finding the person who, before we started, Peter was on the cell phone. I teased him that he was like Paul Pepe because he was on the phone in the middle of something. I think that the people who are willing to pick up the phone and take the call and have the shared passion, the shared vision, is where we can bring that compassion out into the community. So,
hey,
Paul,
Bob, even though your focus today was on, getting people out there to know where the AED is, go get it, turn it on, and meanwhile have someone else doing the compressions. I think that the other thing is that in your just want to go back to the series, since we're celebrating that, is that if you go back and look at it, some of the things that people are finally figuring out now is that you were writing about then. For example, and it hadn't to do anything with fire-based systems or non-fire-based. You actually pointed out how the tiered systems, where you had the paramedics, a highly, let's say, a focused group who are highly busy, smaller cadre of paramedics kept in reserve for the calls that really required them, did so much better, like Boston and Seattle, et cetera. So it was just really, I just wanted to say, and then the other thing he pointed out was how important it was to have a medical director who was intensely involved in there and making it happen. So there was a lot more to the puzzles besides just, the bystander CPR, but you got to have every part of that link, in the chain of survival there. So I just wanted to just say that article was very visionary way back then. Just want you to know. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I want to move on, but I do want to kind of paint a picture, especially for the younger people on here now, that Bob's piece made such a big impact, and now they're going into media, and the visual media, right? Documentaries and so forth. And so there's TikTok now, and there's videos that you can create just by sitting at home and doing it. So I think we need all of our younger generation to power up and get this message out that way, as along with data research, writing, etc. And speaking of data, let me bring it to my co-host Tanner Smita, who is a data guru. He's a paramedic and he's an MD PhD student in West Virginia. So Tanner, you work a lot in resuscitation. You love data. Love to hear your thoughts.
Hey, before we go there, I just wanted to say I have to go, obviously, and then just want to say hi to Jordan and thank you for this great work you're doing. I need to talk to you about some of the work you're doing with Avive. Okay, so all right, we'll be talking about that in the next session. So I'll see you later. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. All right, Tanner, take it away, my friend.
Sure. So I really have two comments to make about this. So the first one is I think that as EMS medical directors, as EMS systems, we spend an inordinate amount of time and energy focusing on how we are resuscitating cardiac arrest patients, right? Focusing on things like chest compression fraction and looking at our airway management and all of these advanced interventions that we provide to cardiac arrest patients and make sure that we're doing them in a competent way. But truly, the data suggests that the game of improving cardiac arrest survival on a population level, at a nationwide level, in a meaningful way from a public health perspective, is a game that's played in the community, right? With increasing bystander CPR training, with increasing public access AED use, these bystander recruitment programs like PulsePoint and other ones that are available in other countries around the world. And if we want to see cardiac arrest survival, like some European countries like Denmark, right? Going out into the community and make sure that we're setting up systems of care to resuscitate these patients, that's the key, right? And so, again, and that pains me to say in some ways, right? Because almost all of my research is on these kind of, very specific advanced life support interventions where removing the needle may be, 1% to 2% in either direction. Bystander response, community response, engaging the community, that's where the real gains are being made, right? Whenever I first started doing resuscitation research, my first papers that I ever wrote on cardiac arrest were on PulsePoint and then the deployment of PulsePoint in Pittsburgh. And whenever I was working on those papers, quite frankly, I was always kind of looking ahead and being like, all right, I'll do these papers and then I'll really get to the sexy stuff, the airway management, the kind of resuscitation research that I really want to do. But I've really come full circle and I've realized that that's the stuff we need to be focusing on moving forward. And now my second comment is, I think you've captured a really important part of community response by focusing on educational institutions, high schools, colleges, right? And I might be a little bit biased here. My mom's a teacher, my brother's a teacher, my wife's starting as a middle school librarian next week, actually. But I believe that training students starting from a young age, right? There are studies showing that you can train 7 and 8-year-olds how to do high quality CPR. That's the way to ensure that 10 years in the future, right, we're seeing bystander CPR rates like Denmark. And I'll actually put in a recent study. It was actually published at the beginning of June in Resuscitation that looks using NEMSIS at states that have implemented statewide laws that require bystander CPR training in high schools. And they found that you get about a 1% absolute gain per year. So in 10 years, we could be seeing 70% bystander CPR rates like Denmark, like Sweden. So I love how you're capturing and highlighting these efforts in educational institutions. And thank you so much for everything you're doing. And thanks for sharing it with us today.
Oh, man. And Jordan, I want you to grow up and be like Tanner. Okay, let's go to Tanner. Listen, great work. I will say that where I would focus, and again, I'm a big believer in the community too, but also I would focus into dispatch as well, right? Because that's a big one. So our dispatchers, I'm not sure if we have any on the call today, are huge. And speaking of bystanders and speaking of dispatch assisted CPR, let's go to Jen Chap. Okay, so the Chaps are here, and I want to hear you guys just at least relate your story, exactly what happened, because it really brings full circle. What is the 6 minutes to live, and why those extra couple of minutes allow you to be sitting next to the person you're sitting next to?
Well, I was sitting right here actually 13 years ago, and was on a call with clients, and my cat, Buddy, was in here, started going nuts, jumping on me, trying to get my attention. And fortunately, he did. And I took him out of the room, and that's when I found Rick collapsed on the floor, unresponsive, gasping for air. I didn't know it at the time, but he was in cardiac arrest. So I dialed 911 immediately, and I got an amazing dispatcher on the phone who was my partner. We had an instant bond. He was my coach, my mentor. He was my protector. He was with me the whole time. And within a matter of seconds of his picking up the call, Rick took his last agonal breath in my arms. So I listened to what the dispatcher said, and he said one thing that I'll never forget. He said, be prepared to do 600 compressions. And I just about coded myself, but it was good that he did that, actually, because it just got me prepared. And so I kind of went into that mode, robotic mode. Everything went black and white for me. I was hyper focused and just started in. I lost count at 300, but kept going. I was just about ready to start pounding on his chest with my feet. I was so exhausted when EMS arrived, and they came in. They immediately took over. They shocked him with one shock, got a heartbeat, while I was like bargaining with God next to them, and took him to a level 1 trauma center. They put him in therapeutic hypothermia for 4 days, warmed him up, woke him up. And here he is 13 years later.
Wow. Jen, that's really an very impressive story. And I see Rick. So Rick can hear us now, right? Yeah,
I'm sorry?
we want to hear. I was going to say that's an incredible story, but I see Rick is like ready to talk. So like, Rick, can you hear me? Tell us. First of all, give credit to your beautiful wife, and tell us what you feel about this topic.
Well, there's no doubt that I'm grateful for the CPR I got, and I'm grateful I live in a community that was prepared to respond to my cardiac arrest, which most or a lot of communities are not, as we know, and there's disparities in the system. So, but I'm personally, I've seen. And it's like been 13 years or so since we got involved in this. And, previous to that, we didn't know anything about it. But, looking back in terms of, from my perspective, trying to research, like I remember when I got out of the hospital, one of the first things I did was Google, cardiac arrest. And they talked mostly that there was no survival portion. They just said, well, families have to, make plans for their loved ones. And, it was almost inevitable that you wouldn't survive, inevitability. But but they weren't even in the media. You couldn't even get good information because there was no information. They described it as a sudden cardiac arrest as a natural event, natural death, or heart attack, which is the worst offensive thing. So, nowadays you search, there's cardiac arrest. You search on Google, they actually understand the term. Media's picking it up, thanks to work like Bob Davis, probably was one of the first ones to ever describe the event correctly. Yeah. So I think that we're making progress nationally and internationally.
Yes, we are. Thank you both so much for being here today. It really means a lot to us. There's a few more things I want to do, and I want to go to someone who's also someone I met many years ago. She's been a champion for many years. She's the executive director of Parent Heart Watch. She's been making some comments in the chat. So Martha Lopez Anderson, are you there? And if you can make a few comments, thank you for all the work you've done, putting conferences together, getting people together, and really pounding the pavement. So Martha, take it away.
Peter, and I won't put my camera on because I don't want to scare you. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity and thank you all for the work that you're doing. So, for those that are not familiar with Parent Heart Watch, with our national organization, focus on the prevention of sudden cardiac arrest and death in the young, so children, teens, and young adults to college age, and we do that through education and awareness, empowering people with life-saving skills, making sure they have cardiac emergency response plans that are written and well practiced, and a lot of work on also primary prevention, heart screenings for early detection. And we've been really instrumental in affecting change in laws across the country. So, happy to live in the state of Florida. I live in Orange County, right where Jen and Rick are. And the comments that I was making with regards to our youth, I think when we wait until high school to introduce our youth to the importance of taking action, it's a little too late. They already have a lot of preconceived ideas. And so, what I want you to think about is, stop, drop, and roll. We didn't start doing that in high school. We started that early on with little kids. And while young children may not be able to do effective CPR, we want to introduce them to that because eventually they will be able to. And also introduce them to what AEDs are, not to be afraid of them, that they can also use them. So, yes, we've worked closely with the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation on an initiative called Call Push Shock. And yeah, the goal again is to motivate, bystander, lay it rescuers to take action.
Amazing. Amazing. Actually, to your point, I want to share the screen real quick because I think it's important. What you're seeing on the screen here is actual 2024 CARES data. Bob, when you wrote your piece in 2003, this didn't exist. Now we can know exactly. So when Bob mentioned the word Utstein earlier, those are the patients who are able to get shocked. These are the patients who should be saved. This is the bread and butter, what he called the low-hanging fruit, right? If you look here, look at all, let's start from the right and go left. Adults, there were 24,657 adults who could have gotten shocked, right? Of course, not all of them did. And look at the bystander AED percentage. It's only 7.7%. Look at the teens, albeit much fewer numbers, N equals 151 for the year of 2024. And this is only for reporting states. So this doesn't include really everybody still. This is what we have. And only 5.3%. So this is, Jordan and Emily, in the area you're dealing with, where teenagers have the highest rate on a percentage level of having a shockable rhythm initially. They have only 5.3% of the time did a bystander bring in AED. And then as you get to the younger children, they have much fewer shockable rhythms, but by the same token, AED percentage goes down even further. So with that, let me pop it back over to Bob and to Hillary, Emily, and Jordan for some final comments. And then anyone else who wants to make comments, we can do after that. But Bob, I'd love to hear your thoughts after what you just heard. And thank you so much for the presentation.
Just grateful and grateful for this amazing group. And I hope we can keep the conversation going. As new ideas come up, questions come up, whatever, I'm glad to still be able to be participating in this now and look forward to contributing however I might as this team grows. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob. Hillary.
Peter, you and Bob and the mentors, Paul, all the people on this call, Jen and Rick, have taught me that the most important thing is that we care for each other. And when you can walk by a complete stranger whose life is in free fall and save their life with your hands, it's pretty much the pinnacle of being a human being. And that's what we really want everyone to understand, especially in times like these, that we need to be there for each other, care about each other, and make as big of a difference as we can. And it doesn't take that much effort. So please reach out to us, get on our website, subscribe to our newsletters, follow us on social, let us know what you're doing. One of the most important things we can do in our 6 Minutes to Live initiative is to help each other with ripping off and duplicating, which Peter taught me how to do, R&D, and not reinventing the wheel, and making sure that we we tell each other what to do with community trainings and things like that. So it's a plug and play kind of thing. And thank you so much, Peter, for letting us be here today.
Anytime. Thank you so much, Hillary. Great comment. And that's why I think people still want to go into healthcare, because they want to help other people.
That's right.
And for those of you who want to go into healthcare, go into EMS. That's my pitch. Emily, go ahead. Let's hear your comment.
I was just gonna say it's been great to hear from all these amazing people that are already doing the work. And just that I'm early in my journey, but that starting small, I think, has been really helpful, and not trying to, utilize the resources that are already there, utilize the people that are already doing the work in your community.
Excellent. Great comment. And then before I go to Jordan, I need to say that as a father, I'm very happy that he's going to sorority houses to help and not to drink more beer. So Jordan, any final comments before we open it up to others?
I'm not gonna do with you, Dad. I know, but I'm just grateful to now be exposed to this community, and I'm gonna do everything in my power to evoke that community response. And it's not the most difficult to do, but we just need someone to do it. I think that's everyone in this call, and that's who I'm gonna try and be. So thank you guys, thank you for everything, thank you, Dad. Yep.
Appreciate it. Well, listen, I mean, you've already recognized all the barriers. As soon as you've gone to these meetings, you're making these phone calls, all you see are barriers come up in front of you. But you have to do like what Bob did, what Hillary did, and people like Paul Pepe did, which is like when people are throwing barriers up at you, it's not for the right reasons, and you just have to figure out ways to get around them. So that's really great. There is another webinar going on right now for those of you who do want to move over. I put the link in. That is Dr. Pepe's webinar, where he's got all of the EMS medical directors from around the world, and he's going to be talking about Avive there today. So if people want to go over there, you can do that now. But so again, just to let people know that we'll stop here formally. But I do see a lot of other people who are new to our webinar. This is like webinar number 230. We do it every Friday at 11 a.m. And I would love to hear from those of you who are out there. So if you want to make a comment, now's your time. You can either put your hand up or just unmute your microphone. And love to hear what you have to say, or any questions for Bob, Hillary, or the gang. I know that John Kramer's out there. Did John move over already? Yes, he did. All right. Anybody else out there? Any CPR warriors who want to make a last comment?
Hey, Peter, this is Tim Landry, and I put in the chat our Press the Chest program in Leon County, and I absolutely was impressed with how young some of these children are that really understand what CPR is all about and participated in it, and were actually showing their grandparents how to do it correctly. And it was just, they were as young as like 6 years old, really doing excellent CPR on the little mannequins that we had provided them. So don't ever underestimate, how young a child can be to learn, effective CPR and stuff. And it was really, really an impressive sight to see.
That's such an important point, and I wish that that things would change. So it's not a high school, as was mentioned earlier. I was asked to give a talk like this to middle school. So I put the PowerPoint together. My wife thought I was going to scare the crap out of everybody. And in fact, we had people coming up, like little kids. It was at Jordan School. I think the kids were like, 9, 10, 11. Their parents were in the room. And by the end, they were like, oh my goodness, I never realized how easy it is to use that. I didn't realize I had to go figure out where that thing was, bring it in, turn it on, and then how to apply it. And then the thing just talks to me, right? So we need to do more. I think our youngsters can do more. Like our college kids should be going out and teaching others. It doesn't have to be, medical directors teaching others. It should be people teaching other people, neighbors helping neighbors, wives helping their husbands, as Jen and Rick, you saw that. So we need to get to the point. So just to give you the last data point, to really have people look for a vision to the future. The neurologic intact survival rate for the United States in 2024, out of the 147,000 cardiac arrests that were actually worked, was 8.2%. higher than when Bob wrote his story. I think it was in the 6% range. Okay, so we've ticked up two percentage points. The Netherlands, and Tanner alluded to this earlier, they're at 24%. Let me say that again. They've tripled our neurologic intact survival. So when I went on Twitter and I was trying to brag about Davy Fire Rescue, we're at 14%. This guy like smacked me back and he's like, "Hey buddy, calm down. We're 24." And I said, "That's not true." And I said, "Send me your data." And indeed, so here's the difference. We are only getting the AED in like 7% of the time. They're getting it like 60% of the time. They're getting the AED to the patient 60% of the time as a bystander. How in the world are they doing that? People have told me, "Oh, it's because the country is like the size of, Rhode Island." And I get it. Okay, that's probably true. But we really have to do a better job of getting people to help. And so last point, I'll make a pulse point, is that when Pulse Point first started, they didn't give the ability for a nurse, a doctor, a paramedic who's off duty to go and knock on the house where the person's having a cardiac arrest. That happened to me. My neighbor's kid, about 2 blocks away, drowned in the pool. I was going on shift. 20 minutes later, I ended up helping resuscitate that child, but it was too late because no one got to the house early enough. If I was a certified responder, I could have responded before my own EMS system got there. Pulse Point now allows you to do that. So I would say to everybody, if you thought of Pulse Point as one thing, go look at it again. And then as the fire department, you can assign thousands of people in your community to be that responder who will come with the skill set, the AED, the knowledge, and then EMS will come in right after you. That's the way we fix this problem, by recruiting more than just, like in town of Davie, I have 186 paramedics and firefighters. That's not enough, right? I would like to have 5, 6, 7, 10,000 people who are ready to take the call from their phone and do the job. So
and Peter, we know, right, that 70% of cardiac arrests happen in the home. So that's an essential part of our moving the needle.
That's exactly it. All right. Anyone for any final comments before we can go on for hours here? Really appreciate everybody joining. Bob, Hillary, Emily, Jordan, Jen, and Rick. Thank you guys so much. I'll put this on YouTube later. Please feel free to share it, and we'll see you guys later.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Peter.
All right, that was awesome. Hillary, thank you so much. Tanner, we had
Thank you.
That was actually the most people we've ever had. So you beat the record.
Okay. Well,
So,
now you and Mark will do it on the next Prodigy webinar. So it's okay. We'll just keep one-upping each other.
well, it's funny because this has always been like this this has been a very intimate, like behind the curtain kind of webinar. And then obviously when you posted it, it kind of blew up. Actually, let me end stream on LinkedIn. But this is actually a very important topic, and thanks for letting my son be a part of it. That was really nice.
Wow, amazing. My heart is full. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tanner. So good to see you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay,
I'm gonna head over to Peppy before he gets mad at me.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Okay.